G'day everyone, Goober here with another Torchlight Infinite video. This one is for the upcoming season, SS8. This is going to be an interesting one. I just got a new computer so I can continue making Torchlight videos, and all of my control settings are defaulted. So as I go through, you can see what I change in order to enhance my gameplay. And you might want to do the same. So first off, we go into the control settings and scroll down. These changes are all quality of life that I enjoy every season. Now, town portals, you don't really have to use that often, so I generally change that to Y. Y isn't used for anything else. It's just a little bit further away from where my hand sits on the keyboard, and for that I don't really I could put in that little bit of extra effort if I want to use a town portal every now and then. Dark Surge is something that I use in maps quite often, so I'll actually make that T. So Dark Surge is T, town portal is a little bit further off. Now I can easily just press T when I get to the end of the map and clear Dark Surge. You can bring up your frozen canvas map if you like. Set that to M. M's nothing by default, and now your frozen canvas map is set to M, which is fantastic. Going down, another one that is extremely useful, not really in solo self-found, however in Trade League, having the trade house in your maps is fantastic, because if you're in a map, you can't just click up here and go to the trade house. That option is not there. However, if you go into the control settings and set a keybind for the trade house, then you can go there at any time and sell items as you please. Now F3 is set to boon by default, but I hardly ever go there ever, and if I want to, I'll probably be in town. I can just go to boon right here. So I don't need boon set to F3, and I can just continue on with the game. So control settings, again, going down. Now we have town portal, dark surge, frozen canvas setup. I don't know why they're not on by default, to be honest, but they're not. Trade house is now set up, so I can sell anything I want during maps. Pack spirits is O, hero traits is H. What else do I have over here? We have pack spirit plans. Now, pack spirit plans are automatic if you have the season pass. However, if you're not using the season pass, then your screen just looks like this, which is not that great. Now, if we go into the pack spirits, where's the button? Oh, there it is. For some reason, I thought it was up here, but it's down here in the little cog. By default, you don't see really anything on your screen. However, you may want to see which one you have on. So you just toggle this to the right to have main screen display. Now on the right hand side here, you'll have a drop down for all of your pack spirits. Now, if you want to set them to a hotkey, as you can see, one is set to tarot and the rest are empty. You can just go into your control settings, go down to pack spirits. Now, for some reason, nothing is set to 1 through to 9. So for free-to-play players, I strongly suggest you go through and you just set all these to 1 through to 9. And then as you're playing through the content, we'll refresh this. If you're doing general farming or you're doing a league-specific item, you can easily just switch by pressing the hotkey. You can't just spam it, but it does have a pretty short cooldown for switching between your pack spirits in that way. Next up, we have a graphic setting. So often in seasons, they will add seasonal effects. There was one that made your entire screen grey and dingy, and it looked shite in my opinion. You can just come in here and say it was the Whispering Mist screen effect. You just switch it off, and then you can go back to enjoying the game however you please. So generally, if there is something like that that you don't want to see, you can just come in here. I think there is one to cover up the bazonkas somewhere. I never use it. I quite like seeing this in my games. It's a little bit of a distraction, and I don't mind it. Anywho, moving on. Next, we have move towards cursor. So a lot of people in other games like to set this to W or whatever you want. This just means if you are auto channeling or clicking, or you just want to run around with W instead of left clicking, you can just set that in that option there. So let's just set it W real quick. Skill swap. I won't do it. But anyway, you can change that in there if you want. Oh, that's the activation for that, of course. So that is where you change the move towards cursor. The next one is probably still going to get used next season. However, if you go into battle, and then you go down here, if you are using something that has an auto channel, so if you're using mind control, let me just equip it, even though I'm not going to use it. So mind control is a channeled ability. You can either hold it down and it just runs towards your cursor. See, I'm not using my mouse at the moment. That is great. Or if you just want to press it once, you go into the battle settings. You may have to scroll down if you don't have that automatically. And you just hit auto channel. Now I can just press E and both hands off the keyboard. It just continues to run around and chase your cursor infinitely. And this is specific to channeled skills, which is pretty nice to know as well. One that I don't have written down, however, let me find it. Here it is here. I'll show this other one first. So if you notice, my inventory style is this one, which is the old one, I believe. You can go into the screen settings and choose inventory screen style 2. You can either choose it to pause or not pause the game. I find if I don't pause the game in inventory, I die a lot. So I leave that on pause. And now our inventory looks like this. So that is how you get the updated inventory page. Also, if you are using the trade house and you're doing a search, let's just say we're looking for flame sand. There's a fair bit on my screen. However, I want to see more. Let's go into the settings again. Screen settings. Scroll all the way down to overall screen scaling. If I make that maximum, now when I go into the trade house and look for flame sand, I can see a lot more options, so I don't have to click right as much. This is fantastic. However, if you don't have a huge screen, just be aware you may struggle to read things as you're going through. Seeing loot on the ground, I definitely struggled before I got an enormous screen. So use that one with caution, but you can always just set it to whatever suits your playstyle. If you're super blind, you can do that. But anywho, oh, there we go. All the way out again. So we've covered off on all of the settings in the game that I can think of right this second, and that I've got saved. The next couple are in the trade house. Now, the trade house in Trade League is obviously a major part of what you are going to do in order to benefit from what drops and whatnot. So a couple of things that you may want to be aware of. In my booth, when something is expiring, you can go in, you can refresh the timer individually there, or down the bottom here, you can just do refresh all and it will refresh everything in your tabs, which is very useful. Next up, we have the unit price filter. Let's find something that, yeah, that'll do. So if we check the price filter in here, we can see the bulk listing starts at 9.4, 9.5. There is a couple up here for less than 9.4. So what we want to do is we want to go in and make sure we're not paying any more than 9.4 each. So we go down to the price filter down the bottom, unit price. You can go total price filter if you like, but I always just go with this, and a maximum of 9.41. And that will only show us sacred fossils with a individual unit price of 9.4 or lower. Obviously, if you want to go the cheaper option and pick up all of the ones before the bulk listing, you can just go 9.3, but then you'll be searching through more and more pages. It's a little bit easier right now because it is the end of the season, so there is just heaps of listings up that normally wouldn't be at the start of a season. Alright, here's one for the very start of the next season. There are some items that often you can flip quite easily, and by flipping I will give a very brief example. These prices will be, that's probably not a good one. Precious Ember. This is a little bit easier to show. So 0.22 is the unit price. If we wanted to look at that, we just go to 0.22. And that is showing us all of the items with 0.022. Now you can put a buy order on and a sell order on. That is done by going to your booth. And when I say a buy order, I mean that we want to sell the currency, which is the Flame Elementium, which is the main currency in the game. Now, often when you are flipping, you want to do it in about 5 FE. You can do this in 1 FE lots if you like, and just go down to the currency type that you want someone to give you in exchange for your Flame Elementium. So these are the ones that you can do this with. A few of these, very unlikely that it will occur, especially Twin Reflections. They generally go for about 30,000. They're about 100. However, at the start of the season, you should be able to flip Flame Sand, Elixir of Oblivion, Netherrealm Resonance, Energy Cores definitely, and the Precious Embers that drop. So Netherrealm Resonance are used early because you can't just go to the vendor and buy maps and that sort of thing. So Netherrealm Resonances are used for getting maps early, and that's the currency that's used to buy the maps. Elixir of Oblivion, this is the respec currency, which you need to respec without Primos. These go for about 1 to 2 Flame Elementium each at the start of the season. So let's do this one in this example. I was going to do the other one, but let's do this one anyway. So let's go to Elixir of Oblivion because I know this one is going to definitely be flippable at the start of the season. Where are they? But game props? No. Let me find it. Universal items, that actually makes sense. So at the moment, they're still going for, where's the bulk listing? At about, around about 0.9, I'd say. Pretty close to 1, which makes this extremely easy. So we want to list some Flame Elementium. We want to list 5, and we know that these are worth about 1 each. However, we don't want to pay 1 each. We want to pay, we want 40. So we want someone to sell that to us at 0.25 each if they want this item from us. So they might have an abundance of Elixir of Oblivion and they just want some quick Flame Elementium, so they'll go in and fill that. Once that is filled, you can then go in and list the Elixir of Oblivion that you have bought from that. And as long as you're listing it for more than 5, so 20, I can probably get 15 FE for that. So if that trade goes through, I would obviously have 2 of these instead of 1. I would be trading my 5 flame elementium for then 30 flame elementium. So that is an example of how to do a flip. It will require some massaging early on in the season. Generally, if you can go 2 to 3 times the profit, 4 times is a bit greedy. So if you did that for 30 and then did it 15 for 7, you would still be doubling to tripling your currency early on. I have other videos on that in more depth. I tend to ramble when I do that tip, but that is how you do it. Now, another one is maybe, I guess it's pretty relevant early-ish. So if you are looking for divinity slates for your builds, especially the legendary divinity slates, a corner of divinity can have 2 affixes or traits on there, and often you are looking for specific ones, such as additional skill level. So you might be looking for +1 synthetic troop, +1 minion skill, and then on another one you might be looking for +1 spell skill, and +1 passive skill or something. Obviously you can't search for this, and if we just want to go with and we'll go for attack speed or something as well. That's a bad example. Is there one for minion damage? Sure. So in this we can't search for that. However, we can go into the conditional group, which is an advanced search. Now, certain combinations of these will be worth far more than other combinations. So +1 synthetic skill troop, +1 spell skill might be extremely expensive. However, you might be able to get +1 synthetic troop, +1 passive. And then on another one, you might be able to get +1 spell skill and minion damage for far cheaper. So the way that you set that up is you go into the additional group here. Now up here, we want it to give us a minimum of 2 results. And in here is where you add all of those slates that you are looking for. So we'll go to skill level. We'll put back in the ones that we were looking for. Spell skill level and the minion damage. Why didn't it show all these ones before? These are the more realistic ones that I was looking for. So in here, chances are it's going to show these 2 as the cheapest results. So we'll hit confirm. Actually, I'll just remove one of these. Let's remove this one. Now, we don't want all of these anymore because we just want the conditional group. So we can hit search, and that brings up a very small list of options that we have. At the start of the season, these will be far cheaper. And you can go through and see synthetic troop and passive skill. Not bad, it's pretty cheap. Synthetic troop and spell skill level. So if we get both of these, then we're getting spell skill, synthetic troop and passive skill. The more expensive ones, passive and spell, that's a more generic, less niche. Minion and passive, that's Iris influenced as well. Towards the start of the seasons, you'll have more options, and you can just favorite them. And then when you, if you need specific ones, you just go to your collection. This is everything you've favorited. You just make sure you get one of everything that is core to your build to enable you to play. And then as you go on, you can set up advanced searches for the more unique ones that you want to always search for. And you can have multiple conditional groups. You just add extras down and add them to your search. So that is all on the trade house. The next one is back to those Oblivion points. So I'll grab these back off the trade house. If you are going through your spec and you want to reset your talents, it uses Oblivion points to respec your talents. I think it's after level 90 or 95. Before that, it's free. and you don't have to worry about Oblivion points. However, after that, if you don't have Oblivion points, it will pop up and ask you to use Jagged Primos. This is the biggest waste of Jagged Primos in the game. Definitely don't do it. Spend a tiny bit of time farming up some Flame Elementium and getting yourself some Elixir of Oblivion. And then all you need to do, you can either go through and use the max like this, or you can just right click on it and it uses the entire stack. This works with other stackable consumables as well. So if you're using eyes or something like that, you can just right click and use the entire stack, and it can go over the maximum. Solidified eyes, you can just use all those. That'll go over the maximum. Eyes, that'll go over the maximum, etc. as well. So something else to consider. But yeah, don't waste your Jagged Primos respecking your character. Next up is for alts. So if you are running an alt, it doesn't work the first playthrough, unfortunately. You can go through and buy any skills that you want from the skill shop, or you can just go through and buy them this way as well. Say you want Lightning Beam, but you're not level 65, so you can't use the Lightning Beam. All you have to do is go into your inventory, find the Lightning Beam, click the hamburger, and reset the level to 1. Now you can use Lightning Beam from level 1, and you can do that for all the skills that you require for your new character. Next up, we have target farming. The cards that are on offer will change. However, each zone has its own unique card that it can drop. In the Glacial Abyss, it is the Gaze Upon the Reflection. This is a card that transfers into the Twin Reflection, which is an extremely expensive card, and it only drops in Glacial Abyss. So if you are not doing this area, you will not get that card. Onto the Blistering Lava Sea. This is always the same card, which is the Immolating Flame, which is used for the single legendary slate when sparks are set the prairie ablaze. Going on, Steel Forge is generally not super popular. Unhatched Shadow, this is a lesser version, so 10 of these equal 1 of these, and 10 of these equal 1 Twin Reflection. So these are 1/100th of a Twin Reflection, and the other area is 1 in 10. They do drop a lot more often. Is it 10 times more often? I don't know. I never farmed for that, but you might want to. In here we have Disappearing Shadow. This is a blueprint for the 5 for a blueprint of Lone Walker's Boots. I had no idea, but that's what drops in there in the current season. These might change next season. Who knows? And finally, we have Defile the Stars in the Voidlands, which is the ultimate legendary gear with Darkest Corrosion, which is pretty cool. So that is where you can target farm all of those cards. And finally, we have a list of generic drops for your maps up here. At the start of the season, you might want to go through and just target farm legendary items, or you might want to target farm some Netherrealm Resonance, some Winding Keys, Star Shards maybe, Elixir of Oblivion. Again, they're dropping for 1 each. That is a chance to duplicate them. You've got all of your just straight out drop quantity up the top here, and more energy cores over there. Flame Sand is not really that useful. It may be more useful next season. However, we'll have to wait and see. So at the start of the season, probably don't go nuts with your farming strategy. Try and do something basic and stick to it. If you're chasing strategies that you're currently doing in SS7, and you think you're going to jump straight into that in SS8, you're probably delusional, but we'll have to wait and see what we can come up with there. In another video, I will go over some specific day one-ish farming strategies that you can do to hopefully ease you into late tier 7 and into time mark 8. Anyway, that's all I've got for this video. Hopefully you found it useful. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you in many more videos. Thanks for watching. See you later.